Hey friends, it's Noah, your favorite Northport real estate broker. So why should you be getting an environmental assessment done when looking to buy vacant land like any of these parcels of land around us? Unfortunately, this is probably one of the most overlooked steps in the land buying process here in the Northport, Port Charlotte area. So in this video, we are going to be going over everything you need to know about getting an environmental assessment conducted on your property and some of the misconceptions that a lot of people have, right? But before we jump in, start sharing with you everything you need to know about environmental assessments, whether you're looking to move in Northport 9 days or 90 days, ultimately that is our team's specialty. Is if you guys have been watching our channel or keeping up with our channel for a little bit, you guys know that we have a dedicated relocation guide for the Northport area. I'll throw it up right here so you guys can check that out. But what it is basically tells you everything you need to know about Northport, such as the school systems here, the restaurants, top 10 things to do, where to go out to eat, you know, some of the attractions, the hospitals, and so much more. So definitely go and check that out. The link is down in the description down below. It's 100% free for all of my viewers. And also, if you're looking to buy or build new construction and you don't want to go through and talking with all these builders, tens of builders here in the Northport area, what we're doing is we're partnering with strategic builders here in the Northport area in order for them to give us off-market inventory so we can compile it into one location for you guys to view off-market new construction properties. Because if you guys have been in the new construction market, you know how competitive this market is here in the Northport area. So with all that being said, let's go and check out everything you need to know about environmental assessments here in Northport. So let's start off by talking about why environmental assessments are so important and often overlooked by so many people looking to buy vacant land here in the Northport area. So why should an environmental assessment be conducted and what is it? So an environmental assessment is basically, you want to think of it as a home inspection, except you're doing an inspection on your lot. These guys, when you hire a professional that does these assessments, what they do is they check for registered wetlands, they check for endangered species, protected trees. They make sure that it is not in a scrub J zone. They dig soil samples to make sure that your lot is buildable, and they just basically do an overall general inspection on the lot. They walk the lot to make sure, you know, they're walking every 5 feet to make sure that there are no endangered species, gopher, tortoise, burrows, or anything like that. That's going to cost you a lot of money to remove and mitigate before you even start building, right? So that is something that I believe everyone needs to get, and I highly recommend it because it's going to save you 12 plus months on building, and it's also going to save you tens of thousands of dollars alone, right? So we're going to start by talking about wetlands first. So what exactly are wetlands? So wetlands are something that is registered in the Northport, city of Northport system, saying this property is in a registered wetland, which means you have to get special permits or you can't even build on this land, right? So permits take quite several months to get accepted if they do get approved. And how you actually go about doing this is when you get an environmental assessment done or conducted on your property, what they will do is they will first look at the map, right? So Northport did a map in like the 1980s, 1990s, so it's pretty outdated, where it shows a lot of Northport in a registered wetland. However, since then, everything is dried out. So what you have to do is, we've actually come across this ourselves, as our lot shows that the map says that it's in a registered wetland. However, what you want to do is when the professional comes to conduct the environmental assessment, they're going to dig soil samples to prove that it is not in a wetland and that it has quote unquote upland soils, which basically means that there's no way for this to be a wetland. So it's kind of evidence that you need to submit with your building permit to show that it's not a registered wetland anymore. So that's something very important, because that's going to save you headaches and it's going to save you several months on actually going about and starting to build your house. So the second thing that professionals look at when conducting environmental assessment is they're going to turn their attention all the way up to the sky, look up at the trees, make sure that there are no scrub jays on this property or even any scrub jay habitats. So now you may be asking, Noah, well, what do scrub jays like, right? Well, scrub jays like brushy habitat and they like the scrub trees, right? So if you have scrub trees on your lot, then it kind of gives evidence to a potential scrub jay habitat. However, there's a lot of cases where these lots don't have any scrub jay habitat, you know, so you got to make sure that when you're looking to buy land is that you have no scrub jay nests in your property. But once again, the professional will look at that. But that's something that's very important to know, because in Northport, they do not have a specific like HCP, just like Port Charlotte and Charlotte County actually have, right? So that actually tells you, okay, this is how much the permit's going to be, this is how long it's going to take. They don't have really those steps set into place, just because the scrub jays right now are, I believe, according to reports, they're kind of phasing out in Northport. They're kind of leaving the area due to all the construction that's happening. So we're kind of losing a lot of the habitat for the scrub jays for that reason. But what this means is that if you are in a registered scrub jay zone, is I've heard permits take, like right now we're building a custom house on a lot that it has a registered scrub jay, that's registered as in a scrub jay habitat. However, there is no scrub jays or any scrub trees on the property, which we've done the environmental assessment to have that proven, so we can show that to the Northport area. But typically in Northport, it's going to take you about 12 months or 10 to 12 months to get that permit issued back and approved before you even can break ground on your property. So not only is the building process going to take you 10 to 12 months, but you got to wait an additional 10 to 12 months just for the permit to be approved for the scrub jays. So you're looking at 2 to 3 years just because you are in a registered scrub jay zone. So if you are looking to build a house immediately or as soon as possible, I would highly advise to stay out of a scrub jay zone. Sure, the lots are a little bit cheaper, but once again, you're going to be paying around $2,200 to $2,400 for a quarter-acre size lot just for the permit alone. And you're going to be set back many, many months just because you are in a registered scrub jay zone. So instead of looking high into the sky, we are going to turn our attention low to the ground, and we're not talking about wetlands again. We are talking about the elusive gopher tortoise, which is the third thing that professionals look at when they are conducting an environmental assessment. So now you may be saying, well, no, how harmful can a gopher tortoise really be on your lot? Well, in fact, gopher tortoises are a state protected species and soon to be federally protected species. What this means is that you have to abide by state rules and federal rules about protected species and endangered species, because they are an endangered species here in the state of Florida, which honestly, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money to remove a gopher tortoise. Right now, it's costing around $8,000 to remove one of these guys. Now, you may be saying, well, Noah, why do these guys cost so much money to remove? Well, here's the thing with gopher tortoises is that since they're an endangered species, they have to be relocated to, they can't just be relocated to another person's lot. They have to be relocated to state land. And state land right now is running out for gopher tortoise habitat. So that's meaning that the state is going to have to buy more land to habitat more of these gopher tortoises. Now, there is another option about gopher tortoises, and it's a little bit less money. However, it's a little bit more headache for when you're building a house, and it only may apply in certain circumstances. So you can actually relocate a gopher tortoise on your property for around $2,500 to $3,000. However, the one thing is that you have to stay about 25 feet away from the gopher tortoise habitat. So even if you find a gopher tortoise smack dab in the middle of your lot, right where you're going to build the house, you have to relocate it. The best one is probably the back right corner or the back left corner of your lot. Now, what you have to do is you have to make actual gopher tortoise habitat here, you know, on the back corners of your lot. So that means that you have to grow grass, you have to make sure that the habitat is suitable for them to feed and eat on and forage basically on your land, right? But the biggest thing is you have to stay 25 feet away from them, so you have to fence them off. And that's kind of an issue when it comes to construction, because when you're looking to buy land and build a house on this land, is that the builder is going to clear cut all of the lot, right? It's going to knock down all the trees, knock down all the brush, everything like that. So it's just going to be a flat pad once everything is cleared. And that means that machinery has to stay away from that 25-foot radius of that gopher tortoise, which if you're maximizing your house space onto your lot, it's going to be hard to maneuver machinery and stuff like that. But if you're building a smaller house and maybe a little bit forward, it may be just fine. You may be able to keep the gopher tortoise on your property, but once again, it's just another headache to work around. So it's either $3,000 to keep them on your land or $8,000 to completely remove them to put them onto state land. That's pretty much a huge reason why a lot of our contracts actually fall through. And about 20% of the contracts that we write, we actually have to cancel. It's because we find a gopher tortoise after conducting an environmental assessment. And the biggest thing is, like, a lot of people come to me and say, hey Noah, this lot is for $10,000. It's a steal. Should I buy it? Well, there's several circumstances, you know, why that lot is $10,000. One, there's scrub jays, which we just talked about. Scrub jays, you have to deal with a permit and you have to deal with several months of not actually being able to start building your house. Two, there's a gopher tortoise on that property, which is going to cost you more to remove than basically that lot alone. And then 3, there's a heritage tree on there, or several heritage trees, which we'll talk about here very shortly. Or 4, the lot is just priced really good, which unfortunately that doesn't happen too often unless someone got a steal for it. But more than often, you won't come across those kind of lots on the market for 10 grand that are actually pristine, no gopher tortoises or anything like that on the property. So that is going to bring us to the 4th thing that professionals look at when conducting environmental assessments, and that is going to be they're looking directly at the trees this time. They're not looking up into the sky or down at the ground. They are going to be looking specifically at the trees themselves. So this rule, heritage rule here in Northport, pertains to the native trees here in Northport. So that's our native oaks, our native pines, and a couple other trees as well. So a heritage tree is defined as a tree that's 24 inches or more in diameter, right? So these native trees that are 24 inches in diameter, they are what is called a heritage tree, and they are measured by, so we take 4.5 feet up from the base and they measure that. So 4.5 feet up from the base of the tree, if it's 24 inches or more in diameter, it's a heritage tree. Now, a heritage tree is just like a scrub jay where you have to get the permit, you have to make sure everything is approved, right? So these trees, to get a permit for a heritage tree, so it is going to cost you $100 per inch in diameter. So the minimum permit fee for a heritage tree to remove it is around $2,400, right? Or more. You can come across trees that are 30 inches in diameter, which is $3,000. Remember, that is just for the permit alone. That's not to actually cut down the tree, clear it off, right? So that's another big headache, is that you're looking at probably $5,000 just for a tree alone, one tree. And if you have several of them, and you're buying a lot at, say, $17,000, you might as well move on to go find another lot for $19,000 or $20,000. Save the headache of the permit, save the headache of the time, and also you're gonna save more money at the end of the day, right? And the biggest thing with heritage trees, right? So we'll pretend that there's a heritage tree right here, is that heritage trees also have a root base, right? We all know that trees in general, they spread their roots, right? So you not only have to be careful about all the land you're clearing around it, but you have to be careful not to disturb the root base, which can go 20, 30 feet outside of that actual tree. So you have to stay 30 feet away from a tree, right? So not only do we talk about gopher tortoises being 25 feet in just radius basically to stay away from the gopher tortoise, you have to stay about 30, 35 feet away from the whole entire tree. You cannot disturb that, which once again, if a tree is not in the right placement, it's going to hinder where your driveway goes, where your septic goes, where your well is drilled, where your house is going, right? And if you guys know our setbacks here in the Northport, Port Charlotte area, you really won't have much room to work with if you're building a 1,900, 1,800, 2,000 square foot house to really work around a big heritage tree, right? So oftentimes you do have to cut them down. There's only one circumstance where heritage tree, or two circumstances where a heritage tree may be okay, is in any of the back corners or front corners, or they may be in the very front of your house or very front of your lot on one side or the other. We can position the driveway on either side to work around it, but once again, it's just a bigger headache for the homeowner, bigger headache for the builder. It's gonna take a little bit more time to build around that property, clear the land, and it's gonna cost a little bit more just to be careful around that around that tree mainly, right? So that kind of sums up the 4 major things that a lot of people look at when conducting environmental assessments, and I cannot tell you how crucial it is, because as builders, we know that if we have to deal with a gopher tortoise, or if we have to deal with a scrub jay, it's going to set us back 5, 10, 12 months even, depending on the location. It's going to set us back several months. You're looking to add another year to your build time for your house. So even though it's a small fee, it's about $400 to get an environmental assessment done. Think of it as a home inspection. You always want to get a home inspection done on a property to make sure that you're not buying a lemon of a house. Same thing applies here with land. Spend the extra money, spend the $400 to get an environmental assessment conducted on your property to make sure that you're actually buying a good piece of land. And once again, guys, if you are looking to move to the Northport area, remember, we have this relocation guide that talks about everything you need to know about the Northport area. Drop it in the description down below, the link And also, if you guys are looking to buy new construction in Northport, you don't want to deal with buying land, the headaches of the environmental issues and everything like that, what we're doing is we're putting together, you know, all the off-market new construction properties here in Northport. You guys can go and check that link down at the bottom of this description down below, and you guys can also just type in the link here, right here as well. So once again, guys, I appreciate you guys checking out this video, and I hope you guys, when you guys are looking to buy land, that you guys will take those 4 things into consideration and actually get an environmental assessment done on the property. But until next time, we will catch you guys all next week.